Hi, I'm Naima Latif with a Media Connection News Brief. We're here at the national headquarters of the Rainbow Push Coalition for a press conference with Reverend Jesse Jackson. He's responding to the announcement that Mayor Rahm Emanuel will not be seeking re-election. He has gathered with a group of leaders to express some of the issues that the remaining candidates for mayor need to address.
To briefly introduce themselves, we've tried to convene a cross-section of organizations with a net to get much broader, a tent much bigger and much higher, but this was almost an immediate response. What's happened today, Betty?
Betty Magnus, Independent Voters of Illinois Rainbow Push Coalition.
My name is Jessica Disu. I'm also known as FM Supreme. I'm with the Chicago International Youth Peace Movement. I'm also a co-founder of many different millennial-led youth organizations here in the city.
Bernard Jake, Senior Pastor of West Point Baptist Church. Al Penn, Consulting Group.
Dr. Conrad World, the National Black United Front.
Jeanette Foreman, South Shore Works, and South Shore Chatham Association.
Devin Crawford, Minister at Trinity United Church of Christ.
Mando Oliver, Minority Insights.
Hermine Hartman, Indigo.
Reverend Coleman, Lincoln United Methodist.
Reverend Aaron McLeod, Trinity United Church of Christ, St. Stephen's Lutheran Church.
James Compton, retired president, Chicago Urban League.
Bob Starks, a professor emeritus at Northeastern Illinois University.
Pastor Emma Lozano, Lincoln United Methodist Church, and our ministry, Robles de Justicia, Adalberto Church, so that represents El Paseo Boricua, Pilsen area, and Hermosa in Chicago.
Jeanette Wilson, Rainbow Push.
Reverend Tyrone McGowan, Trinity United Church of Christ.
Ricky Allman, Apostolic Church of God.
Reverend Dr. Leon Finney, Pastor of Metropolitan Apostolic Community Church, Chief Executive Officer of Woodlawn Community Development Corporation.
Louis Hines, Southside Branch, NAACP.
Bob Fioretti, former Alderman, City of Chicago.
Okay, Reverend.
The political landscape in Chicago radically changed today. The city is in showing arc after Mayor Rahm Emanuel's surprise announcement that he will not seek a third term. Well, we applaud his contribution to Chicago, pre-K for all, a vibrant and beautiful downtown, perhaps a fresh start now. The city's unmet needs and unfinished business must be addressed. The unfinished business of violence, the closing of 50 public schools, the shuttering of mental health clinics, uneven job and contract distribution. There are 9 communities in Chicago, 9, south and west sides of the city where unemployment is 20% or higher. Poverty rate hovers around 40%. It should surprise no one that these abandoned, neglected zones of despair and poverty, these endangered communities, produce most of the city's violence. We don't know why Mayor Emanuel stepped down today, or to call it quits. He had the most money, the most machinery, the inside track. He's yet to tell his reasons for stepping down. The announcement comes one day before the start of the trial of police officer Jason Van Dyke, the killing of 17-year-old Laquan McDonald. The case described as 16 shots in the cover-up. But critics of Emanuel has haunted the city and the mayor in the last 3 years. In protest of the mayor's initial withholding of police video of the killing and violence in general, there have been uprisings around the city, shutting down North Michigan Avenue, the Dan Ryan, and Lakeshore Drive. On Labor Day, a dozen activists were arrested as they tried to shut down the Kennedy Expressway as well, a kind of journal uprising. Those who aspire to replace Emanuel must put forth an urban agenda A policy that is inclusive from the bottom up and to close the gaps of inequality and make Chicago one city for all of its people, following in the footsteps of Harold Washington. There are 3 cities. There is Northwest Side, unemployment less than 2%, suburbs, jobs wanted signs, inner city unemployment 20%, and poverty 40%. We want an equal city that's fair for all of its people. I want to thank a cross-section of people who came together today to stand together to begin the process of building coalitions and the vetting process so we can have a viable candidate that's viable in the view of the public, that can raise the money and raise the issues to make us better. Thank you.
What should the process be?
I'm sorry.
What should the process be?
Once you build we're fortunate we had a very broad cross-section met last week, led by Mr. Frank Clark, Leon Finn, and the others of them, Jim Reynolds, 100 different organizations. That broad cross-section was interview all the candidates, hear them out, and see which one approximates our interests. Hear everybody, what everybody has to say. For those for whom we expect the most, we need safe streets and sidewalks and parks. We need first-class schools. Schools in the city of Chicago should look like Nicolet Valley. We want on one set of rules. But we'll have to say, hear what they have to say, and then they must hear what we have to say.
So will there be an agenda, a political agenda for Livingston?
There are people here who are putting forth an agenda. There are other rallies around the city today. We have a broad cross-section of us who will hear what each other has to say. When Harold ran, he put forth, I should never forget 4 ideas which Conrad can share. Which Harold, please, when Harold would not run, Harold, you must have said, I'm in the Congress. I like my job, and I don't want to run. He said, but if I run, I need 4 things. On the plebiscite, out of which should come one candidate. We had such a plan, such a plebiscite, and Harold became the candidate. 2, 50,000 new voters mean that you're working. 3, reach at least $250,000. And 4, an idea that's big enough to include whites, Hispanics, and blacks, a coalition candidate. We raised $500,000, put on 400,000 new voters. Harold felt compelled to run and could win under very tough conditions. So whoever emerges must have some poll recognition, money and ideas that can build a coalition.
Is there anyone in the field currently who you think could be a coalition candidate?
We don't know, because I'm sure that there are people planning right now to get in who would not plan to get in yesterday. We'll have to wait and see. In the meantime, we're working, building the base that whoever does run must launch from. Was AME Church, the Baptist Church here today, or NAACP, or Rainbow Push Coalition, or the Woodland Organization. We're building a broad base of work and workers. So whoever does run, have a run, an airport to take off from, and the one to land at.
Is the number of African-American candidates still a concern?
It is. That's why there must be a kind of vetting process. And the criteria will determine who comes out the process.
Should the coalition candidate be a black candidate?
That certainly is a critical concern here. But not limited to, but certainly there are strong coalitions, a multiracial, multicultural, we'll honor that commitment. There's some very qualified blacks who are running now, and the others will be in the race. But we'll see. I mean, we will not, this is February. Now, in the meantime, there's something called November the 6th.
Right.
There's a governor's race. A state's attorney general's race. And so that big this should stimulate participation for November the 6th. Because if the outcome of November the 6th will determine a lot in Illinois and around the nation.
And I also would like to add that with this particular race, this will not be business as usual. You know, speaking on behalf of the millennial generation and activists and organizers who has been pushing hard for police accountability and holding elected officials accountable, regardless of who the candidate is that the movement may or may not back, it's important that, you know, it's not business as usual. We're looking for someone who's in the interest of the people in all of the communities. I know they say it's two tails of the city, it's actually one city. And so we need to really diversify our resources and bring and reinvest in the south and west sides. And so it's important that whatever candidate we're backing understands the needs of the people. Our streets are crying, our community's been crying, and what we don't want to see is a second coming of Mayor Emanuel. And so I think that's very important that we be cognizant of the policies and platforms being pushed forth by those who've already announced and those who will announce.
Can you give the name?
Yes, my name is Jessica Disu, D-I-S-U. I'm also known as FM Supreme. I'm the executive director of the Chicago International Youth Peace Movement.
Also, there are 75% of the murders are unsolved, which means murderers are walking the street today. The murdered and the murderers are victims of a system of sickness, guns in, drugs in, jobs out. And there has been no effective plan to curtail that process. We therefore must have someone who has the capacity and the vision to make life for all of us productive and protected. Let me express my thanks to all of you for coming today, members of the media, and for the leadership who gathered on such a short notice. We'll meet here again Saturday morning to figure out with more strategy. Cheta, in terms of who else is running by that time, we'll have a better Cheta.
Will you insist on the consensus candidate number 1 and number 2? Will you hold a registration, voter registration?
Registration drive,
already started it.
That was already started, but that was before this morning. I think it'd be more intense now because more people now feel they have a chance and a choice. Thank you, friends.
I'm Naima Latif. Subscribe to our channel, www.youtube.com/TheMediaConnectionTV, and get notices of our daily news briefs.